Okay, so in order to know the context of Ethiopians and what Herodotus thought of their skin color, let's go back to Herodotus and write, because some people think that Herodotus wrote one page about the Ethiopians or wrote one phrase. If you notice, a lot of channels that talk about the Greeks, they make it sound like Herodotus did it only once, talked about the Egyptians once, talked about, and then he stopped. But he actually went into detail, even going into the mythology that a lot of Greeks carried, like the idea that the Ethiopians occupied the great city of Nysa, as you can see in the text. But let's go to the part that talks about the Indians and compares them to the Ethiopians. That part of India towards the rising sun is all sand. For of the people with whom we are acquainted and of whom anything certain is told, the Indians live the furthest towards the east and the sunrise of all the inhabitants of Asia. For the Indians' country towards the east is a desert by reason of sand. There are many nations of Indians, and they do not speak the same language as each other. Some of them are nomads and others not. Some inhabit the marshes of the river and feed raw fish, which they take going out in boats made of reeds. One joint of the reeds make a boat. These Indians wear a garment made of rushes, which, when they have cut the reed from the river and beaten it they afterwards plait like a mat and wear it as a corselet. Other Indians living to the east of these are nomads and eat raw flesh. They are called Padians. They are said to use the following customs. When any one of the community is sick, whether it be a man or a woman, if it be a man, the men who are his nearest connection put him to death, alleging that if he wasted by disease, his flesh would be spoiled. But if he denies that he is sick, they, not agreeing with him, kill, feast upon him. And if a woman be sick, in like manner, the women are most intimate with her do the same as the men. And whoever reaches to old age, they sacrifice and feast upon. But few among them attain to this state, for before that they put to death everyone that falls into any distemper. Other Indians have the following different custom. They neither kill anything that has life, nor sow anything, nor are they wont to have houses, but they live upon herbs, and they have a grain of size of millet in a pod, which springs spontaneously from the earth. This they gather and boil it and eat it with the pod. When any one of them falls into any disorder, he goes and lies down in the desert, and no one takes any thought about him, whether dead or sick. All have the complexion closely resembling Ethiopians. These Indians are situated very far from the Persians towards the south, and were never subject to Darius. There are other Indians bordering on the city of Caspateris and the country of Paktika, settled northward of the other Indians, whose mode of life resembles that of the Bactrians. They are the most warlike of Indians, and these are they who are sent to procure the gold. For near this part is a desert by reason of sand.
Indian people, we believe we are black people. We know.
Do you?
That
Yeah.
is not true.
Well, read. Okay,
You
bro. Look
are
at Google.
bugging.
Google.
You're
Bro, how
bullshit.
can you?
You're bugging.
Okay, here
You're
is the thing,
bugging
bro.
now.
When you don't know
Yeah.
something, when you don't
You're
know
bugging.
something, you should stay. Like you could.
Wait,
you should,
who
you should
believes
Google
they're
it.
black people?
Because we
When?
came from Africa. That is
Of course.
That is the.
Of course
what?
Now, there's multiple things going on in the pages that I just read. And first of all, he describes the customs of the Indians, but he describes three types of Indians. Firstly, he describes a cannibalistic type of Indian who, that might have existed at the time, where he talks about these group who the men eat the flesh of the men and the women eat the flesh of the woman. If the person is sick, they don't just murder someone, but if they're sick, they eat their body. The second that he describes are actually Buddhist. He describes how they don't even eat animals. They don't eat pigs. They don't eat anything. They're very peaceful people. And he's probably describing Buddhists at this point. And then he describes the ones that are similar to Bactrians, who are very violent and warlike. And who knows who he's talking about at that point. But you saw that he said that it's the furthest of the eastern states, which he obviously is wrong. There's still China and Thailand and all these other places. But at the time, the Greeks didn't know that there was further countries going all the way to Japan at this time. And so in his head, the Ethiopians resemble the Indians in skin color. And notice he didn't say some. He didn't say one of these or some of these. He said all. He mentioned three types of Indians, and then he said all resemble the Ethiopians in color. All. He puts that in there. And worse than that is most of the people that later talked about the Indians, they also mentioned that the Ethiopians resemble the Indians, but that's because they're referring back to Herodotus, and they use him as a starter for how you should relay information. And so when they say the Ethiopians resemble Indians and say that the ones who are southeast more resemble Ethiopians, remember that this is a borrowing from the way Herodotus used to write books of histories. And that's why Herodotus is considered the first actual historian, because of how detailed he goes in. By the way, this is still not nearly all the information that he has, even comparing. There's actually a verse that he talks about how the Indians have black semen, and he says that the black semen is probably responsible for why the people are dark skinned. And he also says it contributes because obviously he knows that the sun plays a role. But it's not true that black people or Indians have black semen. And of course, he talks about other things as well. But think about it. Herodotus was convinced that Indians and black people had the same skin color by that time. Now, did later Indians have lighter skin color and stuff like that? Yes, they did. But the ones that he saw with his own eyes were the same skin color as the Ethiopians.